My name is Michael Lucas. I am the IT architect for Michigan Network Services. And the IPV6 that he so blithely brags about is the result of my pain and suffering. However, in compensation, I am delighted to realize that my company CEO sounds like Rodney Dangerfield.
Now, just remember what he was saying about last night about how it's so typical the QA guys get respect.
No, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got you confused. Apparently you something. Great, we have a nice accidental happy accident. Okay, so, same company I take it?
Same company, I work for this man.
Okay, excellent. All right.
Sundays.
All right, now, I've actually noticed you studiously taking notes my entire last session. Yes. So, who are you? And who do you work for?
I'm Bill Chase. I'm currently looking for work,
Okay.
but I last worked for Highland Software
Okay.
and CSC Group in Ohio, doing content management, system migration, document conversion, and some decompression.
Okay.
Prior to that, I worked with Core Technology Corporation, working on their terminal emulator and multi-bridge products, which used a number of protocols, including TCP/IP and IPX/SPX and a few other Unisys unique protocols. Prior to that, I worked for MSU, where I installed and supported a number of networks. The most recent one was PathWorks by DEC. Take care of that.
You'll be pleased to know that apparently MSU now has IPv6 deployed. You just have to call their IT services help desk and ask for it. I actually got that information from somebody this morning. What was the last night?
That'd be me.
Yeah, he's the guy responsible for that. All right, so back there, who are you and who do you work for? You didn't get. You weren't here to find what I said. I'm going to turn this into a roundtable. I'm going to ask you about the.
My name is John Pounds and I work for MasterCard.
Work for MasterCard. Okay. So you're one of the guys who actually pushed us on PCI compliance.
No, I work in debit processing.
Okay. All right.
I'm Peter. I work for an ISP and services company in Minneapolis. We have a subsidiary of TPS.
Okay. Have you guys deployed IPv6?
It's turned on for some products in some data centers. It's not entirely working yet.
Okay. So you guys are in transition. But you're in your
Cool. Legacy years of legacy software.
you know the story.
My name is Frank Barrage. I'm a contractor at Chrysler.
Okay.
I do wireless networks there.
Okay. Maybe we can talk to you about which wireless devices properly handle IPv6. I do know that some have had trouble with bridging IPv6.
I have not used that. We're strictly a Cisco shop right now.
Okay.
Yeah, experience with other equipment is just playing here and there. So I really can't, I'm really not knowledgeable. We have not employed IPv6 yet. With inside the network, we're going to start testing things soon. Chrysler has done some IPv6 outside of the network.
You're going to learn a ton of this. Back there, I don't think I ever caught you before. So.
My name is Jeremy. I do desktop support for Harris Broadcast. We have IPv6 kind of sort of deployed. There's a big push to get all the desktops off of XP and on Windows 7 fast. As soon as I can pry an XP system away from a finance user, as far as I can tell, we're not routing it internally. We have all these hosts that can do IPv6, and none of the routing or switching does that yet. I'm hoping I can make the case to the seniors that we need to get this done.
Okay. Now, I don't know how your name is.
My name is Dan. I'm actually going to university right now, finishing up my master's in information assurance, cyber law, and cybersecurity. So,
Okay. So So this is very interesting from the security
It was
standpoint.
me, because I'm gonna be dealing more on the, framework, the structures, legal side, and possibly the governmental side, to push down this and nice to decide this is how you're gonna, this is the best way you should do it, even though it's probably not right.
Like I said earlier, I should grab my my Kindle because again, I actually have to actually write it. The NIST has actually published a document for IPv6 transition, for IPv6 transition.
I think it's probably FIPS 190 or FIPS 200,
Yeah, something like that.
all three of these.
Rules for NexusNet as a data center technician, just making sure the hardware is up. We're a big client.
Well, you know, we can ask him for IPv6. All right.
Name's Brian Gratzky. I work for a small company, TechnoServe. I'm mainly a developer. I have played with administering some of our servers and our firewall. We don't have IPv6 in our network.
Okay.
I'm Jordan Bemis, and I'm a desktop support at CareTech Solutions at Oakwood Hospital. And I work along with the network team, and I believe they're taking the ostrich approach to IPv6.
Okay. Did you get them to come to this session next year?
Yeah, I should.
Jeff?
Hi, my name's Jeff. I work for Michigan State University. Most recently, I've been accused of being an infrastructure designer. I don't know what that means yet. I'm deploying V6.
And I will never remember your name.
Hi, I'm Mark, Zoe, Inventory, Big Pink. Don't care. I'm the senior network engineer for an ISP in Northwest Ohio. Our core fully supports IPv6. Getting used to the customers, that's hard. That's actually really hard. So the only customers we have right now that actually have IPv6 are colo customers. And most of them don't give a shit. In fact, the only one who does care, if he didn't live so far away, he'd be in this room right now.
Okay. And I think I saw a hand. Did you have your hand up? No. Okay. All right, so IPv6, enterprise. Your biggest barriers are obviously going to be, you're not your average home user. You're not typically going to be using switches that just do layer 2. You're not going to be using a PC as your firewall typically. You're not going to be using PC as your router. You are going to be using stuff that's crazy expensive and that nobody actually wants to spend money to buy. And you're wondering, A, does your existing infrastructure support IPv6? Does your intrusion detection hardware support IPv6? And B, if it doesn't, how much is it going to cost, or when are you going to get the patches? I don't have the answers to those questions. Some of the people in this room may. I know that you actually were talking about Juniper last night, or this morning.
The two of us can go on and on.
Okay, so how many of you guys use Cisco for your networking?
In part.
Okay, and how many of you guys use Juniper?
Little.
Okay, how many of you guys use HP brokers, that kind of thing? Okay, how many of you guys use something I wasn't aware of the name? What do you use?
Colo uses a lot of Router OS.
Router OS. Okay.
Microsoft.
Well, I've heard of Microsoft. My understanding is they're very incredibly inexpensive.
They're astonishingly inexpensive, and if what you do is Ethernet, I recommend you take a look at them. Because for the price of a 4-hour on-site replacement contract for a big vendor, you can buy a pallet of microtapes.
I may have to leave
Oh.
this discussion.
Oh, do not say that word in my presence.
Okay, so I actually I would love to know what's up with Microsoft.
Garbage.
Okay, why?
Which part? It doesn't have a valid BGP stack, it doesn't have a valid OSPF stack, it doesn't have a valid OSPF3 stack, it doesn't forward Ethernet frames correctly as L2. L3 is flat out broken, and as an added bonus, it mangles packets in flight. Throw it away, it'll just make your life hell.
We haven't
Have you ever run it at full load?
Oh, yes.
Well, then you haven't run any interesting packets through it like multicast.
We have not used it very much for multicast because of a radio vendor that we use on some of our wireless links. Most of our microtics for our external links are attached to ubiquity radios, which until very recently had bad multicast problems.
And your average ubiquity radio will not handle multicast at all unless you put it in WDS mode, which is basically telling the ubiquity radio to bend over and take its throughput through the floor by at least 25% of total capacity. Also,
fixed multicast.
Oh yeah, but it's multicast. Talk to this man. This man can tell you more about multicast than I can. Multicast doesn't actually exist. It doesn't actually work on the internet.
As I recall
It's
from-
broadcast.
Yeah, as I recall from the last session, the problem with multicast is that it presently degrades effectively into broadcast on any existing rate.
Yeah.
And frankly, these kind of discussions are really good because this is the stuff that the people who don't know it need to hear. So this is really good to hear.
I suppose Microtech might look good if your alternate choice is Linksys, Duncan.
We don't run multicast, it's fine.
You will be running multicast if you're using IPv6.
Definitionally, no choice.
We are running IPv6 through Router OS. And we have filed some bug reports. We've gotten them fixed.
That's a miracle then, because the Microtech bug reports I file, they can't understand. With packet traces.
What?
That crashed their boxes in one move.
It might help them to speak Russian.
That's actually pretty straightforward. Technical Russian is technical English.
I speak Russian. It doesn't help. And let me tell you something. Microtech and Router OS is basically the rallying cry of the wireless internet service provider industry. I work for a WISP. We're like one of 10 WISPs in the country that does not want to have anything to do with Microtech. Because we went down that road. We tried it. It sucked. It was, oh my God, there's thunderstorms flowing through our network. OSPF is falling over there, it's failing over there, and oh my God, what are we gonna do to keep this network in one piece? And if we would have just been a Juniper shop, or I will confess, I am a self-confessed Juniper fanboy. I love it. I own an SRX 100 in my house. I spent $800 to have a router in my house. This is what kind of a fanboy I am. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. However, Cisco, same product, Cisco, I would trust it. Same product from HP, I would trust it. Build a FreeBSD or an OpenBSD firewall, I would trust it. Hell, I do it every day because I don't have a budget to buy any more Juniper gear because it's expensive shit. But if you say you're going to put Microtech on my network, I threaten to quit my job.
Okay, so we've heard some descriptions of actual customer interactions, some positive, some negative, and I get the impression that they're equally passionate in both.
What can I say? I'm a passionate individual.
I can tell. And that's actually a good thing to hear. And I'm actually very interested to hear about this because I'm glad that I'm only using Ubiquiti at the moment for my home wireless network. The range on it is quite nice.
The M2 gear is actually not terrible.
I'm actually using it. Yeah, I bought a 3-pack of Unifies because my home network is like a multi-layer Faraday cage.
Yeah, you're like me. Your home network is your test bed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's both fun and your wife will kill you.
Actually, I trained my wife. My wife does software testing and network management at that previous employer of mine. So
Well, that's awesome. See, my wife is a social worker, but she does have a shell script, which is actually kind of hilarious when you think about it. But we actually just pulled the last of our non-Ubiquity M2 gear out of service, which is to say we pulled all of the Ubiquity gear out of service that doesn't know what a VLAN is.
Well, what do we have as far as people who are familiar with the IPv6 support for layer 3 switches? I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know what's out there that can do it. Apart probably from Cisco, I assume.
The entire Cisco line is supported, the entire Juniper EX line is supported, and that's what they call switches. I don't really understand the differentiation between switches and routers anymore. It's a CAN table you build on a certain set of bits and you move on. It's a matter of route scalability on route engines and forwarding scalability on the forwarding plane. It has squat to do with whether you're V4, V6, or Ethernet forwarding.
Okay.
I'd like to add to what Jeff said. Jeff comes for more money than I do. I mean, his employer throws more money at him than mine does. The EX series of switches, Juniper switches, they forward IPv4 just fine. If you want to do OSPF3, if you want to do ISIS, you actually have to pay extra money. And my employer looks at that and goes, "What the hell? No!" So yeah, they're completely capable. They actually do it really well. But you actually have to pay extra money. You have to actually buy the hardware, throw it in your network, and then buy an extra software feature.
Okay.
But it does it very well. The Juniper EX series totally knows how to route IPv6. The MX series, which is basically Jeff, what's the best way to describe the MX versus the EX?
The EX series is supposed to be a switch and it forwards layer 3 to telex. The MX series is supposed to be a services router and it will Ethernet switch if it really wanted to. That's awful expensive switchboards.
Yes. There you go.
So then,
The one's inexpensive L2, the other's inexpensive L3.
Yes.
They both will do IPv6. The one will do it natively, the other one you have to pay extra for.
Another thing to keep in mind is if you're testing IPv6, of course you're going to do it on old hardware. What you've got lying around. Some Cisco 1900 Ethernet switches that, the old school stuff that never dies, so you keep it forever. Some of them die and will not reboot again if you pass IPv6 through.
Cisco 7507 remote enable exploit. If you enable IPv6.
Oh yes.
I know this because we had 7507s on my network when I started there, and until about 6 months ago, we still had them. 1996 called, they want their core router back. Call Amplex, Northwest Ohio, we've got them.
so hardware firewall devices. I know that there's a ton of mock brands out there. That's all I know.
Generally speaking, for the enterprise firewalls, a lot of them did a scramble when the U.S. government said you had to support IPv6. Now, the government IPv6 deployment initiative has kind of it's crumbling, but the vendors that got the vendor attention.
Okay.
The support is, quote, there. But a lot of them have tried to do weird things with it to make the feature set look compatible-ish. I know Checkpoint kind of flailed around in their IPv6 support. Where it worked, it didn't work. We do NAT, we don't do NAT. We do NAT in this one particular RFC compliant manner. It was kind of funny to watch. It's like they went into their code and did a search and replace for 32-bit string node and make it 128 bits and see what happens.
I know the only thing I know about Arbor Networks is there's one Arbor Networks guy here at the conference. He's been hanging out at the board meetings area all weekend, and he hates IPv6. That's all I know about Arbor Networks.
You must be talking about Clay.
No,
Not Clay?
no, I want this
Because
guy.
Clay's here. Clay's a good guy. He also drinks a lot of beer.
The only guy, the guy I was thinking of, I can't even remember his name. I went to high school with him.
Guess you're not talking about Alan, because I went to high school with him, and I know you didn't go to high school with me.
Nooksy. Thank you, Nooksy.
No.
John?
Nooksy.
Okay, that's the name I hadn't heard. Yeah, I went to high school with John. He was a nice guy.
Pretty much, he does play Eve and is in Boonwalk, so pretty much that's full by design.
Yeah. I tried to give
Wait,
him a number.
Nooksy's here?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Games extra.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen you as drunk as I've seen him. You two can go to me later tonight. All right, so.
I accept no challenges. I just win.
But yeah, so there's Checkpoint. What other brands are there that actually have support? Because it's basically there, more or less.
Most of the enterprise fire, basically the support from what I've seen, big enterprises, those of us who like to roll our own, what's missing is the middle. Some home devices will do it. What's really surprising is if you turn on IPV6 in your house and watch how many devices just start using it.
Yes.
I put on IPV6 at home and all of a sudden Netflix was running over IPV6, and I found this out because my NetFlow system at home was IPv4. So what's missing is really the middle.
Yep.
I can attest to the fact Juniper's SRX series handles it just fine, including IPS. That was the beta program that made those actually function. The Cisco 6509 series firewall services module also handle it just fine. I'm running both of those in production right now.
I told Ford that does, but I haven't part of the testing.
Okay.
That's continuing too, although I haven't tried it. I think big.
So it sounds
Sorry,
like,
I have. It works great. We have them in production. I forgot about that set.
which one? That's great. Okay. Just want to make sure that these two are talking about the same
Yep.
thing.
I
Okay.
forgot about those in production. I had a lot of stuff.
Okay, so it sounds like, if you want your hardware firewall, that's there. I'm not even certain if there's a difference between a hardware firewall and an intrusion detection device.
By about an order of 3 magnitudes, yes.
But is that price or functionality?
Price, functionality.
IDPs don't do what a firewall does
Okay.
at all.
And
Best I know about what IDPs do is I put all my syslogs and put it together.
Scans, layer 7.
Layer 7 regular expression engine with protocol parser and matcher.
That sounds nasty.
Yeah, this far inside of one, quite literally.
What's that?
I was this far inside of one, quite literally, fishing components out of one of the blades that fell apart. Okay? I measure my IPS performance in kilowatts. I'm not joking. It's 6 kilowatts in the rack. It can go to 8 right now.
All right, so IPv6 support. Brands and IPv6.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Brands and IPv6.
IPS support works fine on ScreenOS and Junos platform from Juniper that I've actually done. I have no idea what Cisco's version is. We have not tried to fly it across the checkpoint we have deployed. Working my way through the rest of the stuff that I've actually done IPS on. Bro actually works great as long as you have a functional environment to light it in and the sort of MapReduce cluster you need to run it at speed.
Okay. You looked like you actually had something you wanted to point out.
now these leads,
Okay.
fairly well covered it. Most, the same thing that drove the big firewall vendors has driven the intrusion detection systems. If your intrusion analysis engine is measured in kilowatts, you are selling to the enterprise. They want your business.
Okay. And of course, your web servers, naturally, Linux, Windows, all of your anything that can host a LAMP stack or any piece of it, quite frankly, would have IPv6 just fine. So it sounds like end-to-end IPv6 support isn't available from your vendor, whoever your vendor is.
Prefix delegation.
Prefix delegation?
That doesn't exist. Doesn't work in most places on the enterprise.
Okay.
I had to do horrible hack jobs to light my home network using Comcast prefix delegation. And by horrible hack jobs, I mean a passive package sniffer and gone to the SRX platform with readily packet back and generated the necessary config to jam it in the SRX as a static setup.
I think I realized about 3 days afterwards receiving my ubiquity router that that it was going to be a pain in the ass to get prefix delegation working with it.
What is prefix delegation?
So you know what DHCP is?
Yes.
DHCP6 works pretty much the same way for individual hosts. In IPv6, DHCP can also be used to grant your subnets to your clients. So if you have a network, your smallest thing that you should think of as a time, if you're actually thinking about allocating things around, is says a /64. You know, if you have a layer 2, that damn well better have its own /64 associated with it somehow. DHCP can be used to tell a router what it is allowed to use as a subnet. And your router can then turn around and say, well, this is the part of the address space I'm allowed to use. I'm going to turn around and use this, keep a chunk of that for my local network, and possibly handle individual pieces as clients. It can further, if it has enough of the network, and it has DHCP servers asking it can give those DHCP clients asking it can give those DHCP clients chunks of the network as well. So let's say I get a /48 Comcast. Incredibly unlikely, but let's say I get one. Now, I could then turn around and have my machine automatically say, all right, oh right, that's right, you've got this connection set up so that your friend across the street can get a piece of that. His router's going to talk to your router and say, all right, I want a /64. Okay, here's a /64. Here, you can have it, you can use tweet that or do whatever you want with that. And that's taking DHCP and applying it to subnetting. Does that make sense?
A little bit.
Okay. Can you put a more succinct?
I can apply a provider spin on it.
Okay.
What it is, if you think about it in terms of an IPv4 host provider, an ISP gives you a single IP address or whatever you're doing. And you're going to NAT behind that. You're going to do whatever the heck you want. You're going to put 500 computers behind it behind a NAT. The ISP doesn't have to care.
Right, I'm a 10 network behind it.
Okay. Now, IPv6. In theory, in IPv6, that does not exist.
Or it's not supposed to.
It's not supposed to. Let me tell you, as an ISP, it's coming back.
I know.
Whether we want it to die or not, trust me, I want it to die, but trust me, it's not going to. It's coming back. So, not only do we have to remember how to get to your router, which is formerly just your IPv NAT device, IPv4 NAT device, we have to remember what prefix did I throw at you? I threw a 48, a /48 at you, and you may have carved that up any other way. So, IPv6 DHCP version 6, you can actually throw a couple of flags out there. There are two of them that are particularly interesting to me. One has to do with name server information. You should use these name servers. Let's screw this multicast DNS thing because it doesn't work. It doesn't. Talk to Jeff. It doesn't. Two. God damn it, I'm drunk.
Every standing at this point.
All right. Two. The other thing that you can throw along is send me a prefix that I can route internally that you will route for me. And what it does is, not only does DHCP go, oh, you're this guy, I'm gonna give you this IP address. He goes, oh, here, I've got this /64 for all these various customers.
Hey Mark, I think I can actually describe this in a very, very simple way.